Hi, my name is Kat, or the Fairy Librarian, and welcome to another video. Today I'll be sharing my June wrap up. Sorry if you can hear construction outside, like you're always doing it. If you're probably used to it if you watch my videos, but you know. But so I am gonna do my wrap up for June. I have 5 books to talk about, so it's not gonna be the longest wrap up I've ever done. But let's get into it. I'm gonna go over these books in the order in which I read them. So first I have Isisgeheim by Jeroen Windmeijer and Slavenburg, which is the first book in a Dutch thriller series. I've looked and I can't find an English version of it, so I think there isn't one out currently, but it's the first book in a trilogy. The style is often compared to like a Dan Brown. So we're following 2 employees at this museum who at one point they are like, one of them, well, they're doing an exhibition on ancient Egyptian art, and so they've like borrowed stuff from other musea and whatever, and one of them suddenly notices that like one of the like little statue thingies is surprisingly light. Like he'd expect to be heavier, and then so I was like, hey, wait, you're right. And so they end up, looking, and it turns out that it isn't like fully solid, but like it's hollow on the inside. Is that the word in English? So like, and there's this little tiny scroll in it, and they find the scroll, and that is the beginning of the book, because then there are like secret societies who are like looking for the scroll and blah blah blah, and it containing the secret to whatever. As I already said, kind of Dan Brown-esque, but also very different from Dan Brown. Like, I feel like it kind of falls in the same niche, but it's not as well. I haven't read Dan Brown. I've only watched the movie adaptation for the Da Vinci Code and then a TV show for The Lost Symbol, so my knowledge is purely based on those. Like, the books could be very different, but like it's not quite as bonkers and over the top in the way, like, we don't have like secret societies within secret societies within secret societies that like lead to even more puzzles and whatever. Like, it's not as extreme, I would say, but there's like a little bit of that, and also there is this clear love and respect, because the 2 authors, I'm not sure if it's archaeology or something, at least they have like degrees, like the relevant degrees in the things that they're talking about, like Egyptology. I'm not sure what the exact, like, I can't remember, I forgot to put it on screen, but like they have the relevant degree, like they know what they're talking about, they have the knowledge, they clearly have this passion and this love for the thing that they're talking about, which I feel like isn't always there in a Dan Brown book. That being said, though, sometimes we have these parts where they're like info dumping quite a lot on something to do with art history or archaeology or ancient Egypt or like certain plants, and the info dumps are, like, they're interesting, but they break up the flow of the story a bit, and so we don't really get the thrilling pacing because of that. Like, it's in that regard, it feels a little like, I don't know. So pacing wise, I don't love it. Like, I think if they just would have made them footnotes, that actually could have worked, because that way you can like, you can skip them if you don't want them and just continue reading. And if you do want them, like, it's sort of, your brain like consciously pauses the story to go to this footnote and then returns, rather than like being forced to break up the story without, you know, you necessarily choosing that, being prepared for that. And so I think that could work, because like the information isn't always directly relevant to the story. Like, it's fun to know, and like I love that these two guys were like, hey, we're really passionate about our field of study. How about we just gonna info dump people about it? Which is very relatable to me. Like, I do that too all the time about like ancient Greek stuff. So like, I get it, and I think it's kind of adorable. But, you know, I think if it would have happened in footnotes, that would have worked a little better for me, I think. So I gave it 4 stars. I did really enjoy it. I do really want to continue the series. I currently have the 2nd book checked out from the library. I'm not yet reading it because I'm doing Game Night-a-thon in July, so I pick the prompts as I go, so I need, you know, a prompt that it would work for, which I haven't really gotten yet, but, you know, I'm excited to read it when the time comes. Like, I'm pretty sure that the 2nd book follows like a different plot. Like, there is technically a little bit of like, it is like closed off enough that like, if this is just the story, then it's a satisfying conclusion, but there is still like a possibility to continue the story if the authors would want to. But I'm pretty sure that the 2nd book follows like a different plot, and maybe even different characters. I remember reading the back and there were different names, so I assume different characters too, but we'll see. But yeah, Isisgeheim was a fun little book, and I am glad that I read it because I was very much entertained by it. Then I read Every Exquisite Thing by Laura Steven, which is a YA horror thriller that is inspired by the picture of Dorian Gray, and it's freaking amazing. So we are following this girl who is a student at this acting academy, like this very elite boarding school vibes, and she ends up through like a little detour, but she ends up being cast as the female lead in this year's play that their year is doing. And it's a tradition in this school that this one person every year mentors the female lead. She doesn't really teach at any other class at this moment. It's like the only thing that she does at school. And she's like this very mysterious, who is she? How old is she? Because like she doesn't nearly look as old as she should be. And it's a very odd lady. And yeah. So this girl enter her, and this woman is like, hey, you're probably gonna want to keep your beauty. And I know a way to do that, and so to go to this like painter to get this magical portrait painted that would make sure that she would stay the same as she is at the moment that the painting is painted. And things go from there. We have her like realize the cost of this, realize that there is a lot of other people who have also gone through this, and like the effects that it had on them, and like sort of the side effects of this thing that she didn't really consider when she said yes. And we also just have this critique of the, you know, beauty standards and how impossible it is for people to, you know, completely follow these standards at all times, and how, you know, it's so hard that people might be so desperate to say yes to having a portrait painted where they never change, like they never age, they never, you know, like what the way that they are right now is how they're always going to remain, and they can even like live longer and stuff. And so yeah, because we have this main character who, content warning for disordered eating at the beginning, and then she's like, oh my god, I don't have to like pay attention to the amount of calories that I eat anymore. I can just eat whatever I want. Like, I can have dessert now. I can eat sweets now. Oh my goodness, because like, you know, that's not a thing that she allowed herself to eat before that. We have this very interesting discussion about, with the beauty standards, like, why do we keep following them? Because like, beauty is not the end goal, but what is it that we are striving for in our pursuit of beauty? Like, what do we think that beauty will achieve for us? Which I think is very interesting. Like, there's like different characters, they have like different answers to this, which is just very, very interesting thing to think about, in my opinion. Yeah, and we're like looking at like identity and what makes up your identity, and, you know, also love, because her main character has a lot of mommy issues, and how that works. And it was just, there were a lot of things that at first I was like, how are all these different things going to connect in the end? But I think that in the end it really worked, and I really liked this book. I think it is very well written. I think it's very interesting. I may have cried a little at the end. It was beautiful. I really loved it. I highly recommend. I gave it an easy 5 stars, and this is currently, I think it's in second place for my favorite book of the year. Maybe if you ask me a different day, it might be first, but at this point, I think it might be second. So like, yeah, I have 3 books that I've read so far this year that I think are going to be my top 3 at the end of the year. And if I just think about it, I think this is second. Like, I highly doubt that something else will like bump this out of the top 3. But like, there is one book that I've read prior that I think I like a tad bit more, but only barely. So yeah, I really like this. I was not, like, I didn't expect to love this much of it. I expected to have like a good time with it, but nothing more than that. But I was very, pleasantly surprised. And then I read The Raw Shark Texts, which was a book I read for my reading book that were recommended to me for my birthday vlog series. So if you want my more in-depth thoughts, I will direct you to that video. I hope that I planned this well and that that video is already out by the time you're seeing this. But yeah, I enjoyed this. It's a very weird book. So we're following this man who wakes up and has like complete memory loss. He doesn't know who he is, he doesn't know where he is, he knows nothing. And he, tries to figure out who he is and what happens and all that. And it just gets weirder and weirder. And we have conceptual sharks. Like, they're not like a physical shark. They're just the concept of a shark that is attacking him. Like, not physically attacking his body, attacking the concept of him. And it's very, I don't even know how to talk about this book. I don't know what to compare this book with. Like, I've heard it compared to House of Leaves, which, like, if you have to compare it to anything, then I would probably say House of Leaves. But it's also not entirely like that. It's a weird book. And I enjoyed it. But it's weird, and I don't know how to talk about it. There's a cute cat. Like, this guy is a cat that is there in the story as a little, like, animal companion, I guess. And yeah, I liked it. I do think that, like, at the ending, like, I was ready for it to be over. I wish it was like about 50 pages shorter. But other than that, yeah, I had a good time with this. Bit of a mindfuck, but I'm glad I read it. So yeah, that is The Raw Shark Texts. I gave it 4 stars. Then I have A Court of Silver Flames by Sarah J. Maas, which is book either 4 or 5, depending on if you count A Court of Frost and Starlight as 3.5 or 4, which I've seen different places doing it differently, so whatever. It is the first, like, full-length book that comes after the original trilogy. We are following Nesta now, who is one dealing with the trauma from the first trilogy, as well as, like, she has, like, a bit of her own plot. We have the found family thing that I really liked in the original, that is still going on here. We have her romance, which I had a great time with. They're, like, like, taking care of one another, and, like, they're just, I like them. It is very steamy, though. Like, Sarah J. Maas was, you went spice, you're getting spice. The steamy scenes were always very well written, but, like, sometimes I was like, okay, can we do we need another one? Can we, like, move on with the plot? Thank you. Like, I could have been with slightly fewer of them. That is a personal preference, though. I can see people really enjoying the amount of spice in this, but just for me personally, I could have done with, like, slightly fewer of them. But yeah, I really enjoyed the plot, and just Nesta's power is very interesting. I'm a little sad with a certain thing at the end. just because I don't know what that would. I'm trying not to spoil it. But there's a thing like to do with Nesta's power at the end that I'm like, I'm a little, I don't know what this would mean for how we're going to see her later on. So, yeah, I don't know. That is my thoughts here. I really enjoyed it. I still do not like Elaine. I think that might be an unpopular opinion. But she's just so useless. Like, whatever. I've heard people like theorize that maybe we get a book about Elaine as well, and I'm just like, ugh. So, we'll see. But I really enjoyed it. It worked great with my brain that was very tired in June. So yeah, I had a good time with this. And the last book I read in the month of June is Raven 2 by Miriam Borgermans, which is the third book in the Slave series, which is a Dutch YA dystopian series about this future where the economy has collapsed, and as a result, slavery is a thing again, essentially. And so we are following Raven, who is a slave. And in the first book, she gets accused of murdering her master, and we go from there. So we are continuing that. The book, like, the first little bit just wasn't the most interesting to me personally. It was a bit of like a survival story, which I'm like, fine. It's not like I didn't dislike it, but it's just not what I read these books for. Like, it's not the most interesting thing to me personally. I don't love just like survival stories. Not my thing. But then a little later we get like the, you know, commentary on society and, you know, like the way societies are structured and whatever, that I did love again, which is, I think, where this series is strong at some point. And here we are talking about like how people will sort of settle for what they know, even if they can acknowledge the problems with this thing, like they're unwilling to solve them. Because there's just natural tendency to do what's comfortable and, you know, keep the status quo. So I think that is, I think that exploration was very interesting. We're also looking at like the danger of a charismatic leader, and, you know, blind trust in this charismatic leader. So I think that is great. The way that the series works is the odd books are from Raven's perspective, and then the even books are from Dante's perspective, which Dante is like the person who investigates this murder that Raven is accused of committing. So we always have two books happening at the same time. So, you know, Raven 1 and Dante 1 happen at the same time. Raven 2 and Dante 2 happen at the same time. And so there are certain parts There's like these little snippets sometimes from a third perspective that just make me so excited to see what happens in Dante 2, because like I feel like it was like teasing certain things that I think we're going to see in that book, just knowing where Dante is in the world, where like, you know, like as in like the geographical place, the people that he has contact with, like what he's doing. I think we're going to see some things, and I'm just really excited to know what happens there. And yeah, really excited. This book also happens in a cliffhanger, so I need to read Raven 3 as well, like right now. So that is, you know, the series is so good. I'm eating it up. I'm flying through. I give this 4.5 stars. Not perfect, but I really, really enjoyed this. So yeah, that is the wrap up. This was a great month, quality-wise. Like I had 2 4-star reads, 1 4.5-star read, and 2 5-star reads. So can't complain about that. Yeah. That is the wrap up. If you've read any of these books, please let me know, and let me know what you thought of it. And also let me know what your favorite book was that you read in the month of June. And I'll hope to see you again in another video. Bye.